So we have already completed our few topics from your pharmaceutical engineering for like site reduction, site separation, drying, evaporation and distillation. These topics from pharmaceutical engineering we have finished. We have finished general pharmacology. Also I have updated test on that. I will also again one more test will be there on the general pharmacology. We have also completed our blood chapter from anatomy and drug acting on a blood from pharmacology like coagulant, anticoagulant, thrombolytics, hematinics and hypolipidemics. ये सब हो चुका है ऑलरेडी इसका वीडियोस अपडेट किया है एप्लीकेशन राइट. सो टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू स्टार्ट बायोकेमिस्ट्री. सो रिमेनिंग फार्मास्यूटिकल इंजीनियरिंग जो बचा है फार्मास्यूटिकल इंजीनियरिंग में जैसे आपका फ्लो ऑफ फ्लूइड, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ फ्लूइड, मटेरियल कंस्ट्रक्शन बचा है आपका, ठीक है, material construction बचा है, humidification, dehumidification. Remaining topics from your pharmaceutical engineering that will be taken, don't worry. ये side by side लूँगा अभी pharmaceutical engineering plus biochemistry. Because pharmaceutical engineering क्या है कि little bit engineering oriented है, so थोड़ा सा hard होता है समझने के लिए. So थोड़ा सा एक easy topic plus एक hard topic ऐसा लेंगे, so that you will never get bored. आपको बोर नहीं होना चाहिए, इसलिए मैं अब pharmaceutical engineering skip करके biochemistry चालू किया. So that is the reason why biochemistry has started. So biochemistry is little bit easy and you will understand it. There are concepts in it. But in case of pharmaceutical engineering, that is a engineering oriented part. In that you have different machines, you have different laws and all. So you will not easily understand it. So that's why. So we are going to see one topic known as a carbohydrates from biochemistry. So you have to remember that एवरीबडी शुड म्यूट देयर माइक्स. किसी का माइक चालू नहीं होना चाहिए. जब आपको डाउट आएगा तभी आपको माइक ऑन करना. बेसिकली दे आर गोइंग टू आस्क यू एटलीस्ट 4 or 5 क्वेश्चंस इन एवरी ईयर इन द GPAT एग्जाम. 4 or 5 क्वेश्चंस दे आर एक्सपेक्टेड फ्रॉम बायोकेमिस्ट्री. ओके, एंड इन द नाइपर एग्जाम more than 10 questions expected from biochemistry. So we are going to see one chapter from biochemistry, not full chapter today itself. Carbohydrate itself will take at least 3 lectures. So today we are going to see part 1 of carbohydrate. So first of all, what do you mean by carbohydrates? Carbohydrate किसको बोलेंगे? Normally in general terms we use sugar for the carbohydrate, but there is a technical difference between sugars and carbohydrate. So what do you mean by carbohydrate? So they are the type of biomolecules. So what are the carbohydrates? They are the biomolecules. What are the biomolecules? Biomolecules means what? So those molecules which are very important for your biological system, and your whole system is made from those molecules, so known as the biomolecules. So in that biomolecules you have carbohydrates, okay, then proteins, okay, carbohydrate, amino acids, lipids, vitamins, all they are known as a biomolecules, right? So out of that carbohydrates, what do you mean by carbohydrates? The definition of this carbohydrate lies in the carbohydrate term only. इसका जो definition है उसके terms में है, देखो carbo and hydrates. So they are nothing but the hydrates of carbon. So they are nothing but the hydrates of carbon. And in the technical definition you can say carbohydrates are the polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones. क्या है? Polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones. Carbohydrates are nothing but the polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones or product of hydrolysis of same. सपोज दैट यू हैव सम पॉलीसेकेराइड, आपके पास हायर कार्बोहाइड्रेट है जैसे स्टार्च हो गया, इनुलिन हो गया, या फिर कोई दूसरा पॉलीसेकेराइड है, तो उसका हाइड्रोलिसिस किया आपने बाय यूजिंग एसिड हाइड्रोलिसिस और बाय यूजिंग एंजाइमेटिक हाइड्रोलिसिस. सो व्हाट एवर प्रोडक्ट यू आर गोइंग टू गेट, सो दे आर आल्सो कॉल्ड एज कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स. सो बेसिकली कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स आर नथिंग बट द हाइड्रेट्स ऑफ कार्बन एंड दे आर नथिंग बट द पॉलीहाइड्रोक्सीएल्डिहाइड और कीटोन. पॉलीहाइड्रोक्सीएल्डिहाइड और कीटोन क्यों बोलेंगे उसको? सो यू कैन सी ओवर हियर. This is the structure of glucose, a simple monosaccharide. So why they are known as a polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketones? See, so you can see over here is a hydroxyl group. Okay, hydroxyl group. This hydroxyl group. So there are different hydroxyl groups. There are many hydroxyl groups in the one molecule of sugar. एक molecule जो है कार्बोहाइड्रेट उसमें बहुत सारे hydroxyl group है. That's why they are known as a polyhydroxy. क्यों बोलते हैं पॉलीहाइड्रोक्सी? ये जो टर्म है, व्हाई दे आर नोन एज पॉलीहाइड्रोक्सी? बिकॉज दे हैव न्यूमरस हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप इन द स्ट्रक्चर, दैट्स व्हाई दे आर नोन एज पॉलीहाइड्रोक्सी. अगर एक होता है तो उसको बोलेंगे मोनोहाइड्रोक्सी, दो होता है तो डाई, तीन आता है तो थ्री ट्राइहाइड्रोक्सी, फोर आता है तो टेट्राहाइड्रोक्सी. बट यहाँ पे मेनी है, सो मेनी मींस पॉलीहाइड्रोक्सी. ओके, सो दे आर पॉलीहाइड्रोक्सी. नाउ सेकंड, aldehyde or ketone. So what is aldehyde or ketone? Second term, aldehyde or ketone. See, you can see over here in this structure of glucose there is one aldehyde group. There is one aldehyde group. So that's why aldehyde. So polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketones. Ketone किसमें? So you can see over here. So no, here is not. Ketone is there in a structure of fructose. So in the fructose there is a polyhydroxy ketone. Okay, I will explain you in upcoming slide. So basically, why carbohydrates they are known as a polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketone? Because they have numerous hydroxyl group in their structure. That's why they are known as a polyhydroxy, and they will have some functional group like ketone or aldehyde. So अगर aldehyde है तो polyhydroxyaldehyde and ketone है तो polyhydroxy ketone. So they are known as a carbohydrates. They are a biomolecules, one of the biomolecule. Okay, polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketone are the product obtained from the hydrolysis of sugars or higher polysaccharide. So they will have a general formula. उनका एक formula रहेगा. What is the formula? They will have a general formula CH2ON. CH2ON. Okay? CH2ON. कैसा है देखो. यहाँ पे कितने कार्बन है? कार्बन नंबर 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So they have carbon number 6 carbon. Now C6. H कितना होना चाहिए? Twice होना चाहिए. So if you count the hydrogen ion in the molecule, it will come 12. So what will be the formula for this glucose? C6H12. Okay, and O means number of oxygen. Okay, so C N H twice N and ON. So जितने कार्बन होंगे उतने ऑक्सीजन होंगे और उसके डबल क्या होंगे? हाइड्रोजन होंगे. So CnH2nOn or in the simple way CH2ON. So that is the formula for carbohydrates. Okay. Now if number of carbons in the sugar molecule if they are less than 3, number of carbon अगर sugar में 3 से कम है तो उसको क्या बोलेंगे? Hydrates of carbon. They are known as hydrates of carbon. Okay. So if CH2ON, so that is the formula for your sugars, or in the other way CnH2nOn. Okay, that is the formula. Now if N is less than 3, what is N? N means number of carbon atoms. So if number of carbon atoms are less than 3, that carbohydrates they are known as hydrates of carbon. They are known as hydrates of carbon. Now what is meant by sugar? The term sugar is applied to those carbohydrates which are sweet in taste and water soluble. तो sugar मतलब सब carbohydrate नहीं है. Normally what happens, we use a sugar term, but sugar is not a exactly term for carbohydrates, because sugar is the term for those carbohydrates which are water soluble and sweet in taste. Okay? So those carbohydrates which are water soluble and sweet in taste, so we used to call them as sugar. जैसे आपका सुक्रोज होता है, सुक्रोज क्या है? स्वीट इन टेस्ट. फ्रुक्टोज क्या है? स्वीट इन टेस्ट. ग्लूकोज क्या है? स्वीट इन टेस्ट. ठीक है. लेकिन अगर दूसरा कोई शुगर लेंगे, रैपिनोज, ठीक है, वगैरह, रैपिनोज वगैरह, राइबोज वगैरह, so they are not a sweet in taste. So you cannot call every carbohydrate as a sugar, or you cannot call sugar for every carbohydrate. Normally sugar is denoted for those carbohydrates which are water soluble and sweet in taste. Now they are classified into different types like okay, monosaccharides, disaccharides and oligosaccharides, polysaccharides. Okay, sugars are classified into different class like monosaccharides, mono for M, okay, monosaccharides, then disaccharides, D for di, oligosaccharides, O for oligo, and polysaccharides, P for poly. Now what do you mean by monosaccharides? Monosaccharides means they will have, mono means one, they will have one monomeric unit of sugar. जैसे ये ग्लूकोज. So in that you have only one, it is a one unit. Okay, one unit. So monosaccharides. Okay, disaccharide अगर होता है तो ग्लूकोज का अगर 2 यूनिट कंबाइन होकर एक शुगर बनता है तो उसको बोलेंगे डाइसैकराइड. So in that case, for example, glucose plus glucose, that is maltose. Glucose plus fructose, that is a sucrose. Okay, so monosaccharide means only one sugar unit. Disaccharide means 2 sugar units. Oligosaccharide means 2 to 10. 2 से लेके 10 तक कितना भी हो सकता है sugar units. So oligosaccharide means 2 to 10 units, and polysaccharide means more than 10 or more than 20, 50 कितना भी हो सकता है. So monosaccharide means only one sugar unit. Disaccharide means 2 sugar units. They are linked together. Oligosaccharide means 2 to 10 sugar units, and polysaccharide means many sugar units. Now monosaccharides they are further divided into different types. मोनोसेक्राइड्स का भी डिफरेंट टाइप होता है, जैसे जैसे number of carbon atoms. So if they are okay, so if they are 3 known as a triages, if they are 4 tetrages, 5 pentages, 6 hexages, 7 heptages, like that. Okay, again monosaccharide also further classified into another type depending on the functional group. We'll see that in upcoming slide. So just overview of that. So carbohydrate, they are nothing but the polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketone or the product obtained after the hydrolysis of same. General formula होता है CnH2nOn. If number of carbon atoms, if they are less than 3, they are known as hydrates of carbon. And the term sugar is applied to those carbohydrates which are water soluble and sweet in taste. Right? So they are classified into monosaccharide, disaccharide, oligosaccharide, and polysaccharide. So that classification we'll see later. Okay. If you see glucose molecule, because glucose is the very important physiological molecule from this carbohydrate. So glucose molecule, this is the structure of glucose. Glucose will have 6 carbon. ग्लूकोज में कितना कार्बन है? 6 कार्बन. ठीक है. ग्लूकोज हैज अ 4 डिफरेंट asymmetric carbon atoms. Glucose has a 4 different asymmetric carbon atoms. So what do you mean by asymmetric carbon atom? So first you have to understand, आपको मालूम होना चाहिए कि asymmetric carbon atom क्या होता है. ठीक है, जैसे ये यहाँ पे क्या है? कार्बन है. So if carbon is attached to a 4 different group, यहाँ पे एक ग्रुप है, यहाँ पे एक है, यहाँ पे एक है, ओके, यहाँ पे एक है, यहाँ पे एक है, एंड यहाँ पे एक है. So if carbon is attached with the 4 different groups or 4 different functional groups, so that carbon is known as a asymmetric carbon atom. Okay, asymmetric. Symmetry मतलब सब सब वो सब अटैचमेंट जो होगा सेम होगा. अगर asymmetric मतलब क्या? अलग अलग अटैचमेंट. कार्बन के लिए 4 अटैचमेंट होता है, यू नो दैट वैलेंसी उसका 4 है. ठीक है. सो कार्बन हैज अ 4 वैलेंसी एंड इफ 4 number of groups are attached to them, and if those groups are same, so it is a symmetric carbon atom. And if those functional group or those groups are different, they are known as asymmetric carbon atom. Now asymmetric carbon atom will, that is if asymmetric carbon atom is present in the molecule, अगर किसमें भी asymmetric carbon atom है तो उसका क्या होगा? उसका स्टीरियो आइसोमेरिज्म होगा. ठीक है. सो उसके आइसोमर्स बनेंगे. ग्लूकोज हैज अ 4 डिफरेंट asymmetric कार्बन एटम्स. कौन से देखो. सो टेक द कार्बन नंबर 2. कार्बन नंबर 2 जो है, कार्बन नंबर 2, सो इट इज अटैच्ड विद द हाइड्रोजन एंड हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप on sidewise and in up and down side it is attached with this A group हो गया. ठीक है, aldehyde group. दूसरा ग्रुप क्या हो गया? so this one is a second group. okay, third one is a hydrogen and fourth one is a hydrogen. So chiral carbon number 2. Carbon number 2 is a chiral carbon. Okay. So likewise you can see carbon number 3 is also chiral. Carbon number 3 is also chiral. Carbon number 3 जो है वो भी क्या है? chiral carbon है या फिर asymmetric carbon है. So you can see it is attached with this one group, this second group which is different. Then third group is a hydrogen, hydroxyl group. Fourth one is a hydrogen. So it is again asymmetric carbon. So there are, second is asymmetric, third one is asymmetric. So likewise fourth one is asymmetric and fifth one is also asymmetric. Basically your glucose has, ग्लूकोज में कितना asymmetric कार्बन एटम है? 4. ठीक है, ये जो वाले 2 3 4 5, so all these are the asymmetric carbon atom in the glucose. okay, so it will have 16 isomers. ग्लूकोज के कितने आइसोमर्स होते हैं? 16. okay, so a glucose consists of 4 different asymmetric carbon atom. याद रखो, क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. Glucose has a 4 different asymmetric carbon atom. That's why it has a 16 isomers. So उसका एक फॉर्मूला होता है 2 raised to n. So you know that this formula is there to calculate the number of isomers possible of the structure. आपके पास में कोई भी स्ट्रक्चर है, उसका कितना आइसोमर्स हो सकता है. So if you have any structure, you have to calculate the number of isomers of that structure. How you can calculate? There is one formula. This is the formula 2 raised to n. 2 raised to n. What is 2? 2 is the, okay, 2 is the constant. n is nothing but the number of carbon atom. Number of asymmetric carbon atom. कितने नंबर ऑफ asymmetric कार्बन एटम है उस मॉलिक्यूल में? तो 2 raised to n करो, आपको उसका नंबर ऑफ आइसोमर्स मिल जाएगा. तो आपको यहाँ पे मालूम है कि ग्लूकोज में कितना है? 4. ओके, ग्लूकोज है 4 डिफरेंट chiral centers or 4 different asymmetric carbon. So 2 raised to 4, 2 raised to, so what will be the answer? It is a 16. ठीक है, 16. So glucose has a 16 isomers. इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आ चुका है GPAT. How many number of isomers of glucose are possible? 16 number of isomers of glucose are possible. दो बार नहीं बोलूँगा अभी. So 16 isomers of glucose are possible. Okay. D and L configuration of sugar, they are assigned with the reference to the glyceride. So as I told you, sugar में क्या है कि asymmetric carbon atom होता है. So because of that, so there are two type of configuration, D and L. So when a plane polarized light, they are passed, when plane polarized light, they are passed through a solution of sugar. So it will either rotate that plane polarized light to the left side or right side. So if sugar solution rotates the plane polarized light towards the right side, so that is known as a dextro. Okay, and if it rotates the plane polarized light towards the left side, known as a levo. अगर लेफ्ट साइड को रोटेट करता है प्लेन पोलराइज्ड लाइट को तो उसको बोलेंगे लिवो. लिवो लिवो इज डिनोटेड बाय आई बोलते हैं उसको, लिवो को आई बोलते हैं, ये भी बोलते हैं लेकिन आई इज द स्टैंडर्ड एंड इट्स यू कैन से लिवो इज आई और माइनस. Minus is also a symbol to denote the LEVO sugar. Now dextro means D or plus. Plus is also there as symbol for dextro. So how you can say LEVO and dextro? You can see the arrangement of this. So terminal carbon. So this one is a carbon number 1. ये glucose का structure है. You know that this is glucose structure. This carbon is known as a carbon number. This carbon is known as a carbon number 1. Okay. Now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is a 6 carbon atom containing sugar. It is known as a hexose sugar. अगर 5 carbon atom, if there are 5 carbon, it is known as a pentose sugar. If there are 4 carbon atom, they are known as a okay. 3 carbon atom trioses, 4 carbon atom tetrose sugar, triose sugar, tetrose sugar, 5 carbon atom pentose sugar, 6 carbon atom hexose sugar, 7 carbon atom heptose sugar. Okay. So triose, tetrose, pentose, hexose, heptose, etc. etc. Okay. So glucose is a hexose sugar. I will explain that in upcoming slide. So basically, so it has a 6 carbon atom. So carbon number 1 is known as a functional carbon. So इसके ऊपर एक functional group होता है आपका aldehyde. That is a functional carbon. Okay. Now second, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So last carbon is known as a terminal alcohol containing carbon. So carbon number 6 will have a alcoholic group, then known as terminal alcohol group. The carbon atom which is the nearest to the this terminal carbon. The carbon atom which is adjacent to the carbon number, okay, terminal carbon containing hydroxyl group. So जो लास्ट वाला हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप कंटेनिंग कार्बन होता है उसके साथ में कौन सा कार्बन है, कार्बन नंबर 5. So you have to see the arrangement of hydroxyl group and hydrogen ion, hydrogen and hydroxyl group on the adjacent carbon which is adjacent to the terminal carbon. यहाँ पे देखो, यहाँ पे मार्क किया है. So if the hydroxyl group will if hydroxyl group on an adjacent carbon atom is also on a similar side with the hydroxyl group of your terminal carbon containing alcohol. Okay, तो इसको hydroxyl की जगह alcohol बोलेंगे. So if hydroxyl group on carbon number 5 is on a same side or is on a right side, okay, so that is known as a dextro. That is known as a dextro and denoted as a D glucose. Now if that hydroxyl group is on a left side or on a opposite side to that of the terminal alcohol group, so known as a L or LEVO. Okay, L glucose. So I will explain this again, don't worry. So D and L, because of these sugars will have asymmetric carbon atom and they can rotate the plane polarized light in a optical path. अगर आपने ग्लूकोज का सॉल्यूशन बनाया और आपने उसका polarimeter नाम का एक डिवाइस रहता है, polarimeter. You might have in the your college. Polarimeter is used to calculate whether dextro or LEVO, okay, to know the configuration. So if you place a solution of glucose in the polarimeter, so it will either rotate the plane polarized light to the left side or right side. So it rotates the plane polarized light to the right side, known as a dextro. If it rotates to the left side, known as a LEVO. Okay, so depending on that rotation of plane polarized light, so LEVO or dextro. Okay, so you can see over here I have told you the structure. Okay, so structure of D glucose and L glucose. Okay, so all the structure of these sugars, जितने भी sugars है उसके structure डिपिक्ट करने के लिए, उसका स्ट्रक्चर निकालने के लिए, या फिर सो ऑल द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ शुगर्स दे आर डिपिक्टेड, दे आर रिटन इन द रेफरेंस विद द simplest sugar. Simplest sugar कौन होता है? Glyceraldehyde. So this is known as the simplest sugar. So it is a 3 carbon atom containing sugar, glyceraldehyde. Okay, so 3 carbon atom, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so 3 carbon atom containing sugar known as a glyceraldehyde, which is the simplest sugar, and its keto derivative known as a dihydroxyacetone. But वो बाद में देखेंगे. So simplest sugar is nothing but the glyceraldehyde. And all the structure of other sugars, they are designated, they are denoted, they are compared in comparison with the glyceraldehyde. So this one is known as a D-glyceraldehyde. Why it is known as a D-glyceraldehyde? It is known as a D-glyceraldehyde, D or plus, because dextro is denoted with the plus symbol also. So why it is D? You can see what is the chiral carbon, which one is the chiral carbon. यहाँ पे देखो कार्बन नंबर सेकंड जो है, so this is a asymmetric carbon or chiral carbon. This is a one group, this one is second hydrogen, okay, this one is 3 and this one is 4. So this carbon number 2 is attached with the 4 different groups, so it is known as the asymmetric carbon. Why it is known as a dextro? See the arrangement of adjacent carbon, see the arrangement of hydrogen and hydroxyl on the adjacent carbon, which is near to the terminal carbon, terminal alcohol containing group. तो ये कार्बन कौन सा है? टर्मिनल कार्बन. ये कौन सा है? फर्स्ट कार्बन. द अरेंजमेंट ऑफ हाइड्रोक्सिल, okay, OH group and hydrogen group, H and OH group. So arrangement of OH and H group near to the terminal hydroxyl group. So this hydroxyl group is on the same side where the alcohol is present. Okay, so that's why dextro. Now you can see one in the structure. This hydroxyl group is on a opposite side of that of the terminal alcohol. So it is known as a LEO. So as like that other sugars. So D-glucose. So you will have this D in the D-glucose. You will have hydroxyl group on the same side. In the okay D-galactose. In the D-galactose, galactose is also monosaccharide. So it will have also hydroxyl and hydroxyl group of carbon number 5 and alcohol group of terminal carbon will be on the same side. Okay, so known as a D. You can see D-mannose. D-mannose में भी क्या है? So hydroxyl group on carbon number 5 and alcohol group of terminal carbon will be on the same side. That is the right side. That is known as a dextro. You can see, okay, this is a dextro. Okay, this one is known as a fructose. This is structure of fructose. So glucose is known as a aldohexose. Glucose is known as a aldohexose. क्यों? ग्लूकोज में क्या होता है कि अल्डिहाइड ग्रुप होता है, तो उसके लिए उसको बोलते हैं अल्डोहेक्सोस. ठीक है. एंड फ्रुक्टोज को क्या बोलते हैं? कीटोहेक्सोस. फ्रुक्टोज इज नोन एज अ कीटोहेक्सोस क्योंकि इसमें क्या आता है? कीटोन ग्रुप होता है. सो कीटोन ग्रुप, बिकॉज ऑफ द कीटोन ग्रुप इट इज नोन एज अ कीटोहेक्सोस. बिकॉज इसमें भी 6 कार्बन एटम है. देखो फ्रुक्टोज में भी क्या है? टोटल कार्बन नंबर कितने हैं? 6. ग्लूकोज में भी क्या है? टोटल कार्बन नंबर 6. So your glucose also has a 6 carbon, fructose also has a 6 carbon, but the difference is nothing but the functional group. So in the glucose you have aldehyde group, right? So that's why it is known as a aldohexose. For aldehyde aldo and 6 carbon atom, that's why hexose. So aldohexose, glucose is a aldohexose, remember. Now fructose, so in the fructose you have ketone group. 6 carbon atom is there but ketone group, so it is known as a ketohexose. इसको क्या बोलेंगे? कीटोहेक्सोस. ओके, सो यू कैन सी ओवर हियर इन द फ्रुक्टोज आल्सो डी फ्रुक्टोज, योर हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप ऑन द 5th carbon atom is on the same side as that of the alcoholic group on a terminal carbon, so that's why dextro. Now you can see levo, in the levo it will be on the opposite side. You can see levo glucose, levo is denoted by L or minus. So levo glucose में देखो यहाँ पे क्या है? opposite side में hydroxyl group arranged on a 5th carbon will be on a opposite side to that of the terminal alcoholic group. Okay, so hydroxyl group present on the carbon number 5, which is opposite to that of the alcoholic group present on the carbon number 6. So it is a structure of galactose, L galactose. Okay, L mannose and you can see your L fructose. This is structure of L mannose. So all these are on opposite side. So D and L structure, it should be clear. So D means if hydroxyl group on carbon number 5 of a sugar is on the same side as that of the alcoholic group on a terminal carbon. लास्ट वाला जो अल्कोहल कंटेनिंग कार्बन होता है वो अल्कोहल और उसके कार्बन नंबर 5 का अल्कोहल अगर सेम साइड पे है या फिर राइट साइड पे है तो उसको बोलेंगे डेक्स्ट्रो. अगर वो अपोजिट साइड पे है या फिर हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप opposite side पे to that of the alcoholic group of terminal carbon, that is known as a LIGO. Okay. Now monosaccharides. So monosaccharides means what? Mono means one. ठीक है. Mono मतलब क्या होता है? Mono मतलब one. So monosaccharide is the term for sugar. Okay. So mono means one and saccharide sugar. So one sugar means what? Containing only one unit of carbohydrate. So it is a single unit of carbohydrate. So monosaccharide will have a single unit of carbohydrate, and most of the monosaccharides they are a sweet in taste. You have to remember. Okay. तो monosaccharide क्या है? इसमें एक ही शुगर का यूनिट होगा, वो स्वीट भी होती है. ठीक है. So for example उसमें आता है ग्लूकोज, फ्रुक्टोज वगैरह वगैरह. But monosaccharides are further divided into different types. So monosaccharides they are classified into different types. So first is nothing but the aldoses. So monosaccharides they are classified in a different types. For example, monosaccharides they are classified in a two types depending upon the functional group or depending upon the number of carbon atom. So depending on the functional group, so monosaccharides they are classified into two types: aldoses and ketoses. Aldoses and ketoses. ठीक है, ketoses. तो monosaccharide का भी classification further होता है. So monosaccharide are classified into two type: aldoses and ketoses, depending on the functional group. ठीक है. अगर शुगर में आपका aldehyde है, so if your sugar has a aldehyde group, so it is known as a aldose. Okay. If your monosaccharide or sugar has a ketone group, so it is known as a ketose. Okay. For example, आपका एग्जांपल क्या है? अल्डोजेस का एग्जांपल होता है ग्लूकोज. ग्लूकोज इज अ अल्डोज. ग्लूकोज में अल्डिहाइड ग्रुप होता है, सो ग्लूकोज इज अ अल्डोज. एंड कीटो ग्रुप किसमें होता है? कीटो ग्रुप होता है फ्रुक्टोज में, सो फ्रुक्टोज इज अ कीटोज. सो यू कैन सी ग्लूकोज इज अ अल्डोज शुगर एंड फ्रुक्टोज इज अ कीटो शुगर. अनदर एग्जांपल इज देयर. ओके. Okay, so aldose किसको बोलेंगे? Those sugar which will have aldehyde in the structure known as aldose sugar. For example, glyceraldehyde. So glyceraldehyde is a 3 carbon atom containing simplest sugar. Okay, so it is a aldose. Okay, again glucose also has a aldehyde group, so glucose is a aldose sugar. Ribose is a 4 carbon atom containing sugar having aldehyde group, so ribose sugar, aldose sugar. Now keto means ketoses means those sugar which will have ketone functional group, so ketone. So example dihydroxyacetone, it is a 3 carbon atom containing sugar. जैसे glyceraldehyde होता है 3 carbon atom containing sugar. So 3 carbon atom containing sugar with aldehyde group, so known as a glyceraldehyde. 3 carbon atom containing sugar with the ketone group. 3 carbon atom containing sugar with the ketone group known as a dihydroxyacetone. Now 6 carbon atom containing sugar with aldehyde group, glucose. 6 carbon atom containing sugar with the ketone group, fructose. Okay. 4 carbon atom containing sugar with the aldehyde group, ribose, and 4 carbon atom containing sugar with the ketone group known as a ribulose. तो उनको और एक टर्म होता है अल्डो एक्सोस, अल्डो कीटोस, अल्डो एक्सोस, अल्डो कीटोस, सॉरी अल्डो. आता अभी देखो ये क्या है, you can see over here, this is a glyceraldehyde, so it is a 3 carbon atom containing sugar and aldehyde containing group, so it is a aldose. But you can say it is a aldotriose, you can say it is a aldotriose. इसको आप aldotriose बोल सकते हो. ये क्या है? ketone containing sugar of 3 carbon atom, so you can say it as a dihydroxyacetone is a ketotriose, glyceraldehyde is a aldotriose, and dihydroxyacetone is a ketotriose. So in the similar way glucose can be called as, glucose को क्या बोल सकते हो? इसमें 6 कार्बन एटम होता है, so it is a 6 carbon containing sugar having aldehyde group, so aldohexose. Glucose is aldohexose. Now in the similar way fructose is also 6 carbon atom containing sugar but ketone group, so fructose is a ketohexose. Glucose is aldohexose, fructose is a ketohexose. So ribose is a 4 carbon atom containing aldehyde containing sugar, so it is known as aldotetrose. Okay. So ribulose is again 4 carbon atom containing sugar having ketone group, so ketotetrose. So aldohexose glucose, ketohexose fructose. Okay. Aldotriose is a glyceraldehyde and ketotriose is a dihydroxyacetone. Okay. Aldotetrose is a ribose, okay, ketotetrose is a ribulose, right? So monosaccharides are classified into another type. Monosaccharide का classification दो तरीके से होता है. Monosaccharides are classified into different type. First we have seen depending on the functional group present, so they are classified into aldoses or ketoses, right? Aldoses or ketoses. Now monosaccharides they are classified डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द नंबर ऑफ कार्बन एटम्स, कि नंबर ऑफ कार्बन एटम्स कितने उस शुगर में, उसके बेसिस पे उसको क्लास करते हैं. सो नंबर ऑफ डिपेंडिंग ऑन द नंबर ऑफ कार्बन एटम प्रेजेंट इन द शुगर, monosaccharides are classified into different. So first is a trioses. Trioses. Tri means what? Tri means three. So tri is the term for three carbon. So trioses means three carbon atom containing sugar. So trioses means this sugar will have three carbon atom only. Okay. So for example, glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. Sorry, glyceraldehyde and then dihydroxyacetone. So glyceraldehyde is a trioses containing aldehyde group. So it is known as a trio aldotriose, and dihydroxyacetone is a ketone containing trioses, so ketotriose. So aldehyde, glyceraldehyde and glyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone both are the intermediate in the glycolysis. ये जो शुगर है ग्लिसरॉल्डिहाइड शुगर, या फिर आप बोलेंगे उसको डाइहाइड्रोक्सीएसीटोन कार्बोहाइड्रेट और ग्लिसरॉल्डिहाइड कार्बोहाइड्रेट, सो दे आर नॉट फाउंड इन द नेचर. वो कहाँ पे? सो दे आर इंटरमीडिएट इन द glycolysis. Whenever there is a breakdown of glucose, glycolysis means breakdown of glucose, in that metabolic pathway, so you will get a glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate as an intermediate. So they are the three carbon atom containing sugars, right? So they are known as a trioses, right? Now next one is a tetroses. So what do you mean by tetroses? So trioses मतलब तीन carbon atom containing sugar. So trioses means three carbon atom containing sugar. Now in the similar way, tetroses means four carbon atom containing sugar. So tetroses means four carbon. Trioses means three carbon. Tetroses means four carbon atom containing sugar. So in that you have example of erythrose. Erythrose is there, which is intermediate in the again in the metabolism. So erythrose, okay. So four carbon atom containing sugar. So likewise that. So if sugar has a five carbon atom known as a pentose or pentoses. So trioses, tetroses, pentoses. Pentoses means what? So these will have five carbon atom. Example is ribose. Ribose sugar is a pentose sugar. Five carbon atom containing sugar. Cyclic. Then deoxyribose. Ribose, deoxyribose, both are the pentose sugar. Now you might have seen ribose sugar or deoxyribose sugar, they are found in the न्यूक्लिक एसिड, डीएनए आरएनए में स्ट्रक्चर में उसका ये शुगर पाया जाता है. सो इन द डीएनए डीऑक्सीराइबोस शुगर इज देयर, इन द आरएनए राइबोस शुगर इज देयर. तो डीएनए में होता है डीऑक्सीराइबोस, आरएनए में होता है राइबोस शुगर, एंड ऑल दीस शुगर्स आर नथिंग बट द पेंटोस. दे आर फाइव कार्बन एटम कंटेनिंग शुगर. सो दे आर फाउंड इन द न्यूक्लिक एसिड्स. न्यूक्लिक एसिड क्या है? डीएनए एंड आरएनए. दे आर फाउंड इन द न्यूक्लिक एसिड. सो रिमेंबर, ओके, राइबोस एंड डीऑक्सीराइबोस. क्वेश्चन आता है व्हिच शुगर इज फाउंड इन द न्यूक्लिक एसिड. सो पेंटोज शुगर. तो आपको इतना तो वो तो इतने एड़े नहीं है कि पूछेंगे राइबोस एंड डीऑक्सीराइबोस. तो आपको मालूम है कि डीएनए का लॉन्ग फॉर्म ही क्या है? डीऑक्सीराइबो न्यूक्लिक एसिड. तो उसमें डीऑक्सीराइबोस शुगर होगा. आरएनए का लॉन्ग फॉर्म क्या है? आरएनए राइबोस न्यूक्लिक एसिड. तो उसमें राइबोस शुगर होगा. बट आपको कंफ्यूज करने के लिए वो राइबोस डीऑक्सीराइबोस शुगर का नाम नहीं देंगे, वो देंगे पेंटोस, ट्रायोस, टेट्रोस, ऐसा. तो ट्रायोस, टेट्रोस, पेंटोस. आपको पूछेंगे वन ऑफ द फॉलोइंग शुगर इज प्रेजेंट इन द डीएनए. सो ऑप्शन ए रहेगा आपका ट्रायोसिस, ऑप्शन बी टेट्रोस, ऑप्शन सी पेंटोस, ऑप्शन डी हेक्सोस. सो रिमेंबर पेंटोस शुगर इज फाउंड इन द डीएनए आरएनए, ओके. देन अगेन xylose. Xylose is also a kind of pentose sugar. Xylose क्या है? Pentose sugar. It is found in the glycoprotein and different kind of gums. जैसे होता है अकेशिया गम, ट्राइकांत गम, सो प्लांट प्रोडक्ट्स. तो उसमें xylose sugar पाया जाता है. That is a 5 carbon atom containing pentose sugar. Okay. Then xylulose. So next one is xylulose. So this xylulose sugar, xylulose is also found in the, it is the intermediate in the uronic acid pathway. Uronic acid pathway. Uronic acid pathway क्या होता है? So it is nothing but the metabolism of sugars only. Sugar का metabolism, उसका acid hydrolysis जब करेंगे तो आपको uronic acid मिलेगा. So that will see in upcoming slide. So xylulose is also pentose sugar found in the intermediate in the uronic acid pathway. Then lixose or lixose or lixose. So it is found in the, इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. लैक्सोज इज अ शुगर, इट इज अ पेंटोज शुगर फाउंड इन द हार्ट मसल्स. आपको जो दिल होता है धक धक करने लगा, इन द हार्ट मसल्स, दैट इज अ मायोकार्डियम. इन द मायोकार्डियम लिक्सोज sugar is found in the form of lixoflavin. और लाइक्सोफ्लेविन। लाइक्सोफ्लेविन नाम का एक पिगमेंट होता है, सो उसमें ये लाइक्सो शुगर पाया जाता है। लाइक्सो शुगर इज फाउंड इन द हार्ट मसल। क्वेश्चन आता है, देखो आ चुका है, डी ड्रग इंस्पेक्टर के एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन ऑलरेडी आ चुका है, नाइपर में आ चुका है। सो लिक्सोस और लाइक्सोस शुगर इज फाउंड इन, so remember, lactose sugar is found in the heart muscle. Lactose sugar is found in the heart muscle in the form of laxoflavin. So very important. Lactose sugar, which is a pentose sugar. क्या है? 5 carbon atom containing sugar, lactose, found in the heart muscle in the form of laxoflavin. Okay. Now we'll see the next, hexose sugar. So we have seen in the trioses. Trioses मतलब क्या? 3 carbon atom containing sugar. Tetrosis मतलब क्या? 4 carbon. Pentoses मतलब 5 carbon. And hexoses means 6 carbon. So 6 carbon atom containing monosaccharide. ये क्या है? सब monosaccharides है. Disaccharide वगैरह सब अलग है, बाद में देखेंगे. So monosaccharides, they are classified into trioses, tetroses, pentoses, hexoses, heptoses, depending upon the number of carbon atom. For example, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 respectively. Monosaccharides are also classified into aldoses and ketoses, depending upon the functional group. If aldehyde is a functional group, known as aldoses. If ketone is a functional group, known as ketoses. Right? Now hexose sugar. So example is glucose. Glucose is the hexose sugar. So glucose is known as sugar fuel of life. You have to remember, glucose is known as sugar fuel of life, because whatever energy you are getting through oxidation of sugars. So who provides that energy? Glucose provides that energy. So glucose is known as a sugar fuel of life. It is also known as, okay, it is also known as a sugar fuel of life. It is also, उसको एक और एक term है, I'm not recalling. I will explain in the upcoming slide में आएगा. So glucose is known as a sugar fuel of life. See, every body's cells and tissues, they require energy. Your body's cells and tissue requires energy. So the energy is whatever energy is required, they are getting from oxidation of glucose. ये ग्लूकोज का ऑक्सीडेशन होता है, उसके बाद में एनर्जी मिलता है इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एटीपी. सो ऑल द tissue cells, they are getting energy from glucose. Okay. And there are certain cells, for example brain, there are certain cells or tissue like brain is totally dependent on a glucose for energy. आपका जो ब्रेन होता है, ब्रेन टोटली डिपेंडेंट होता है एनर्जी के लिए, किसके ऊपर? ग्लूकोज के ऊपर. एंड आल्सो आरबीसीज, तो रेड ब्लड सेल्स, आरबीसी एंड ब्रेन, they are totally dependent on the glucose for the energy, because they will not metabolize or they will not oxidize other sugars. So they are only dependent on the glucose for the survival. अगर ग्लूकोज अगर ब्रेन को नहीं मिलता है तो आप मर सकते हो. अगर ग्लूकोज ब्रेन को नहीं मिलता है तो आप मर सकते हो. अगर ग्लूकोज आपके बॉडी में नहीं है तो आरबीसी मर जाएंगे. ठीक है. सो आप मर सकते हो. दैट इज नोन एज हाइपोग्लाइसेमिक शॉक. So if there is no glucose in your blood, brain will get hypoglycemic shock and you will go into the coma and death. So brain is totally dependent on the glucose for energy. Okay. So glucose is a hexose, right? So glucose is known as a sugar fuel of life. And then fructose. Next one is a fructose. So fructose is known as a fruit sugar. Fructose is known as a fruit sugar. Fructose को क्या बोलते हैं? Fruit sugar. Because fructose is present in the fruits. Fructose sugar कहाँ पे होता है? Fruits में होता है. That's why it is known as a fructose. So it is a ketohexose. ठीक है. ग्लूकोज क्या है? aldohexose. ग्लूकोज में aldehyde होता है 6 कार्बन, so aldohexose. fructose में 6 कार्बन, ketone group ketohexose. Okay. Now fructose is known as a fruit sugar and it is found in the honey. किसमें होता है? honey में होता है. Okay. honey में आता है, fruits में आता है, and it also found in the semen. So जो sperms होता है, sperm will utilize fructose for the energy. Only sperms, they can utilize the fructose for energy. In the seminal vesicles there is a synthesis of fructose. Seminal vesicle जो होता है आपके testis में, वहाँ पे ग्लूकोज का कन्वर्जन फ्रुक्टोज में होता है, and fructose is utilized as a source of energy in the seminal vesicles for the sperms. So sperms survives because of the fructose. So there was I think in the need also they used to, I don't know whether they are asking nowadays or not, but when we were studying in the 12th, at that time there was one question, free fructose is found in one of the following body fluids, and answer was a seminal fluid. Okay. So free fructose is found in the honey. जो आपका हनी होता है जो खाते हो आप डाबर हनी वगैरह, आजकल वो डाबर हनी वगैरह सब adulterant होता है उसमें. Okay. So pure honey, whatever honey is you are getting through honeycomb, so that honey has a fructose. So free fructose is present in the fruits, honey and semen. Now galactose. So galactose is also a hexose sugar. Galactose क्या है? Hexose sugar. Galactose is also hexose sugar. So galactose is found in the milk. So it is known as a milk sugar. Galactose is found in the milk. It is known as a milk sugar. And mannose is also a hexose sugar. Okay. So we have seen the monosaccharide. Now monosaccharide and their important points. So trioses means what? Trioses means 3 carbon atom containing monosaccharide. So 3 carbon atom containing monosaccharide. So glyceraldehyde, 3 glyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone. They are nothing but the glyceraldehyde is a trio, aldrotriose, and dihydroxyacetone is a ketotriose. They occurs in the phosphate form. Glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So they occurs in the phosphate esterified form, which are the intermediate in the glycolysis, and they are the precursor for. They are the important for the synthesis of glycerol. आपके बॉडी में ग्लिसरॉल जो बनता है वो कहाँ से बनता है? ये ग्लिसरॉल्डेहाइड 3 phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate से बनता है. They are the precursor for glycerol. Remember, these are the trioses. Now tetroses, 4 carbon atom containing sugar. So erythrose 4 phosphate. So erythrose 4 phosphate is an example of tetrose, 4 carbon atom containing sugar. So it is an intermediate in the HMP shunt. HMP shunt क्या होता है? It is a metabolic pathway for glucose. Alternative metabolic pathway for glucose. ग्लूकोज का ऑक्सीडेशन कैसे होता है? ग्लाइकोलाइसिस से होता है, क्रेब साइकिल से होता है, और बाद में HMP shunt. So alternative pathway is HMP shunt. Okay. So erythrose 4 phosphate is a intermediate in the HMP pathway or HMP shunt. So alternative pathway for glucose oxidation. Now pentoses, so 5 carbon atom containing sugar. So D-ribose, ribose, okay, that is a important for RNA. Ribonucleic acid में D-ribose sugar होता है. Okay, so it is a constituent of RNA and various coenzymes, constituent of various coenzymes like EFAD, NAD and coenzyme. Flavin, adenine dinucleotide, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. Nucleotide है उसमें तो ribose आएगा उसमें. Then also important component for coenzyme A. Deoxyribose sugar is also there. Deoxyribose sugar is a component of DNA. Okay. Then D-ribulose sugar is there. D-xylose sugar is there. They are a phosphate ester of ketopentose intermediate in the HMP shunt. Then D-xylose is also there. Most of the sugar, यहाँ पे क्या देखो, most of the sugars in the nature they are D sugars. जितने भी sugars है वो क्या होंगे? D होंगे. In the human. So in the human body, whatever sugars are there, they are D sugars, dextrorotary. Okay, plant में yield sugar आता है. Plant में क्या होता है? Plant में yield sugar. In the plant, they are a yield sugar. Whatever sugars are there in a human body, they are a D type, dextro. Okay, yield for liver. Remember. Okay, D-xylose is a intermediate in the metabolic of glucouric acid, and it is excreted in the urine. D-xylose. D-xylose is also a pentose sugar. D-xylose क्या है? Pentose sugar है. It is a metabolite. It is also a metabolite. D-xylose. Metabolite of D-xylose is a D-glucouric acid. इसका मेटाबॉलिज्म होने के बाद में xylose का glucouric acid बनता है, and that is excreted in the urine. There is one disease known as a pentosuria. One disease known as a pentosuria. Disease known as a pentosuria, which is an abnormality in the metabolism of this pentose sugar. कौन सा? So if there is a defect in the metabolism of D-xylose, there is an increased level of D-glucouric acid in the, okay, that is metabolite in the urine, and it is known as a condition is known as a pentosuria. Pentosuria. So it is an abnormality in the metabolism of D-xylose. Okay. Then L-fucose. L-fucose is also pentose sugar. L-fucose क्या है? Pentose sugar है. It is found in the glycoprotein. Now we will see the hexose sugar. Hexose sugar. Hexose मतलब क्या? 6 carbon atom containing sugar. So in that you have glucose, galactose, fructose, mannose and glucose. Glucose मतलब क्या है? D-glucose is also known as dextrose. As it is question आ चुका है. डी ग्लूकोज इज नोन एज अ डेक्सट्रोज। आपको आपने देखा होगा ये इंजेक्शन आता है, सलाइन का इंजेक्शन, सलाइन का इंजेक्शन में क्या होता है 0.9% डेक्स्ट्रो, ओके, डेक्सट्रोज। सो डेक्सट्रोज इज आल्सो नोन एज डी ग्लूकोज, डी फॉर डेक्स्ट्रो रोटेटरी ग्लूकोज dextrose, and also known as a grape sugar. Glucose or D-glucose is also known as a grape sugar. यहाँ पे आता है grape sugar. Sugar, okay. Glucose is nothing but the sugar fuel of life. I have seen there. Then it is a energy. It is the only source for energy for the brains and RBC. Brain and RBC के लिए सिर्फ ग्लूकोज ही एनर्जी का सोर्स होता है. So other sugars brain and RBC will not able to utilize. बाकी बॉडी पार्ट यूटिलाइज कर सकते हैं. Now sugar, okay, glucose. So glucose is stored in the liver and muscle in the form of glycogen. So next probable question है आपका. So storage form of glucose question आ चुका है. What is the storage form of glucose? So glucose is stored in the body in the form of glycogen. So this glycogen is nothing but the storage form of glucose. In the liver, glucose is converted into glycogen. Glycogen क्या है? It is a polymer of glucose. ऐसा ग्लूकोज का एक मॉलिक्यूल, दो मॉलिक्यूल, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ऐसा बहुत सारा 20, 25, 30, 100, 200. So it is a polymer of glucose. What is the polymer of glucose? Glycogen. Glycogen is a polymer of glucose. So storage form of glucose in the body is a glycogen. Right? Okay. D-glucose is also a part of disaccharide. जैसे आपका सुक्रोज होता है. सुक्रोज में क्या क्या होता है? ग्लूकोज प्लस, so that is a disaccharide. So it is also part of disaccharides, also part of polysaccharide. It also shows, so glucose is nothing but the dextro in nature, so known as dextrose, and also shows the meter rotation. So what is the meter rotation? I will explain in upcoming slide. Meter rotation क्या होता है? Next देखेंगे. Now next hexo sugar is nothing but the galactose. Okay, so D galactose. D क्यों लिखा है? Because most of the sugar in the human beings they are dextro. That's why D. Okay. Now galactose. So it is known as a milk sugar. It is found in the lactose. So it is known as a milk sugar. Also as a also it is an important component of galactolipids. So galactolipids means lipid का complex होता है, lipid plus sugar. उसका glycolipids बोलते हैं उसको. So it is a component of glycolipid known as a galactolipids. Then also component of glycoproteins. So it is also dextro in nature and shows meter rotation. It is a C4 epimer of glucose. Epimers क्या होता है? I will explain in the upcoming slides. So you just remember it is a galactose is nothing but the C4 epimer of glucose. ये आपको next upcoming slide में आएगा. So galactose is found in the plant and animals in the bound form. It is not present in the free form. Galactose free form में नहीं रहता है. Galactose is always found in the bound form. So oxidation of galactose with the nitric acid. Oxidation of galactose with the nitric acid will give you म्यूसिक एसिड. अगर इसका ऑक्सीडेशन करेंगे नाइट्रिक एसिड से गैलेक्टोज का तो आपको म्यूसिक एसिड मिलेगा. एंड दैट इज नथिंग बट द डाइकार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड. एंड इट इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ गैलेक्टोज. गैलेक्टोज का आइडेंटिफिकेशन करने के लिए ये टेस्ट यूटिलाइज किया जाता है. उसमें इसका नाइट्रिक एसिड के साथ में हाइड्रोलाइसिस किया जाता है. उसमें डाइकार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड बनता है. That is utilized as a identification test for galactose. Now third sugar is a deep fructose. Okay, so fructose is nothing but it is known as a fruit sugar. Fructose को क्या बोलते हैं? Fruit sugar. So it is occurs in the fruits, also found in the free form in the honey and sperms. For sperms it is a source of energy. So it is a ketoexose. क्या है? Ketoexose. Already मैंने बोला है. So it is a levorotary. It is a levorotary. D मतलब dextrorotary. बट इट्स लिवो रोटरी फॉर्म. अगर फ्रुक्टोज का यल फॉर्म है, यल लिवो रोटेटरी फॉर्म ऑफ फ्रुक्टोज. लिवो रोटेटरी फॉर्म ऑफ फ्रुक्टोज इज नोन एज अ लिवेलोज. एक एक टर्म इंपॉर्टेंट, लिवेलोज. लिवेलोज किसको बोलते हैं? यल फ्रुक्टोज इज नोन एज अ लिवोलोज. यल फ्रुक्टोज इज नोन एज अ लिवोलोज. इट इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन इसके ऊपर आ चुका है. L fructose is known as a levolose. Okay, so levorotary, a ketoexose which is a levorotary, and L fructose is known as a levulose. Okay, it also shows the meter rotation. इट इज अ वेरी स्वीटर देन सुक्रोज. सुक्रोज जो है आपका केन शुगर, सुक्रोज को बोलते हैं आपको केन शुगर और टेबल शुगर. सो सुक्रोज जितना स्वीट होता है उससे ज़्यादा स्वीट कौन होता है? फ्रुक्टोज. फ्रुक्टोज इज मोर स्वीटर देन सुक्रोज and more reactive than glucose. Now fructose occurs, it occurs as a constituent of sucrose in a polysaccharide. Okay, sucrose क्या है? Disaccharide. So it is a constituent of sucrose. Sucrose is made up of a glucose plus fructose. जब अपन डाइसैकेराइड देखेंगे उसमें आपको बोल सुक्रोज इज मेड ऑफ ग्लूकोज फ्रुक्टोज. सो यहाँ पे आपको याद रखना है सुक्रोज इज नोन एज इनवर्ट शुगर. जीपैट 2023 में क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. Sucrose is known as an invert sugar. So when I will explain you sucrose, sucrose is also known as an invert sugar. Sucrose को क्या क्या बोलते हैं देखो. Sucrose is also known as a table sugar. Table sugar किसको बोलेंगे? Sucrose को. Sucrose is also known as a cane sugar. Sugar cane है ना, गन्ने का जूस पीते हो ना आप. So cane sugar is also known as sucrose. Am I audible to you clearly? Audible आएगा? Yes or no? Sucrose is also known as cane sugar. Sucrose is also known as a table sugar. Sucrose is also known as a invert sugar. Is also known as a invert sugar. क्यों बोलते हैं इसको invert sugar? I will explain in the next lecture. Because when there is a hydrolysis of sucrose, when there is a heat is applied to sucrose, when there is a hydrolysis of sucrose, sucrose का hydrolysis होने के बाद में क्या मिलेगा आपको? Glucose plus fructose. Further hydrolysis क्या होता है कि डी फ्रुक्टोज का कन्वर्जन होता है यल फ्रुक्टोज में. ठीक है, डी फ्रुक्टोज का कन्वर्जन होता है यल फ्रुक्टोज में. एंड दैट्स व्हाई सुक्रोज का जो कॉन्फ़िगरेशन होता है वो होता है यल. ठीक है, यल. ठीक है, अपॉन द हाइड्रोलिसिस ऑफ सुक्रोज और अपॉन एप्लीकेशन ऑफ हीट टू द नॉर्मली सुक्रोज डी होता है, डेक्स्ट्रो रोटरी होता है. नॉर्मली कितना कैसा होता है? डेक्स्ट्रो होता है. बट अपॉन द एप्लीकेशन ऑफ हीट और ड्यू टू हाइड्रोलिसिस, सो देयर इज अ हाइड्रोलिसिस ऑफ सुक्रोज एंड due to L fructose present in the sucrose, so the configuration of sucrose becomes L. पहले होता है D, बाद में होता है L. So that is nothing but the inversion of configuration, and that is known as a, that's why sucrose is known as a invert sugar. Sucrose को क्यों बोलते हैं invert sugar? उसकी वजह से बोलते हैं. ना ये आपको कॉलेज में बोला होगा, ना ये आपको किसी ने बोला होगा. So ये आपको बाद में भी एक्सप्लेन करूँगा मैं. Okay? Sucrose is known as a invert sugar. याद रखो. Question was there in GPAT 2023. Now mannose. Next one is a mannose. So mannose is also a hexo sugar. इसमें भी क्या है? 6 कार्बन एटम कंटेनिंग शुगर है. So does not found in the free form. ये फ्री नहीं होता है नेचर में. It is not found in the free form in the nature. So it is found in the bound form. It is either present in the polysaccharide. Okay, it is present in the polysaccharide. So for example, in the ivory nut. ये क्या होता है? एक फ्रूट होता है जैसे आपने होता है कैशू नट, आलमंड नट, जैसे इवोरी नट होता है. इवोरी नट, इसमें क्या होता है? डी मैनोस. सो आल्सो इट इज फाउंड इन द ग्लाइकोप्रोटीन इन द बॉडी. ग्लाइकोप्रोटीन जो होता है बॉडी में उसमें ये डी मैनोस होता है. ये हो गया हेक्सोस. नो हेप्टोस, हेप्टोस शुगर. सुडो हेप्टुलोज. सो इट इज अ कीटो हेप्टोस. कीटोन फंक्शन है इसमें. 7 कार्बन एटम कंटेनिंग शुगर है. हेप्टोस मतलब 7. ये कीटो हेप्टोस फाउंड इन द प्लांट्स एंड इंपॉर्टेंट इन द इंटरमीडिएट इन द HMP. So it is a hexo. So we have seen triosis, tetrosis, pentosis, hexosis and heptosis. General properties of monosaccharide. तो monosaccharide के general properties क्या क्या होना चाहिए? एक शुगर है उसका प्रॉपर्टी क्या होता है? So general property, asymmetric carbon atom. First is nothing but the asymmetric carbon atom. Okay? So asymmetric carbon atom first. A carbon atom which is attached to a 4 different groups known as asymmetric carbon atom. So consider यहाँ पे क्या है? कार्बन है सेंटर. अगर ये एक ग्रुप, ये दूसरा है, ये तीसरा है, this one is a 4. If a carbon atom is attached with 4 different groups, a carbon is attached with 4 different groups, it is known as a asymmetric carbon. It is also known as a chiral carbon. अगर कार्बन को 4 डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स अटैच है तो उसको क्या बोलेंगे? एसिमेट्रिक कार्बन और कायरल कार्बन, राइट? Okay, so monosaccharides will have asymmetric carbon atom in their structure, right? Now, because of that asymmetric carbon atom, there are different isomers possible of that compound. अगर कोई स्ट्रक्चर में asymmetric carbon atom होता है तो उसका isomers आपको मिल जाता है. So there is a one rule known as a Van't Hoff's rules. Okay? Van top rule of N. So Van top rule of N. So it is a rule to predict. It is a rule to predict number of possible isomers of any compound depending upon number of asymmetric carbon atom. उस compound में उस structure में how many number of asymmetric carbon atoms are there in a structure. Asymmetric carbon atom कितने हैं उसके basis पे उसका number of isomers calculate कर सकते हैं. Okay. So what is the formula? Formula is nothing but the 2 raised to n. 2 raised to n. Formula is 2 raised to. So what is the number of asymmetric carbon atom? For example, glucose is a having 4 asymmetric carbon atom. That's why it has a 16 isomer. Question is ऊपर आ चुका. So fructose का भी पूछेंगे, mannose का भी पूछेंगे. So structure draw करना है. Okay, mannose, ठीक है, galactose, glucose, all will have 16 isomers. Fructose will also have 16 isomers because it is also having. Sorry, fructose will have 8 isomers. It has only 2 asymmetric carbon. Okay, I will explain that concept. So stereoisomerism. Stereoisomerism. Two compounds having same molecular formula but different arrangement of atom in the special configuration. For example, D and L glucose. बोला है मैंने. D and L glucose क्यों? Because there is a difference in the arrangement of hydrogen group and hydroxyl group at a carbon number 5 as compared to carbon number 6. So stereoisomerism. D and L series क्या होता है? We have seen. What is D glucose? What is L glucose? So arrangement of hydrogen and hydroxyl group around the carbon atom adjacent to the terminal carbon containing alcohol group. Example, carbon number 5 of glucose will have a difference in the arrangement of hydroxyl group and hydrogen ion. We have already seen that. Okay? We have already seen that. So if hydroxyl group on carbon number 5 is on a same side or is on a right side as that of the alcohol group of terminal carbon, it is known as a D or D series or dextrorotary. That is hydroxyl group of C5 is on the right side or dextro. Now L series means if hydroxyl group of carbon 5 is on a left side, it is known as a L series. Most of the sugars and their respective metabolizing enzymes, they are having D type of sugar. Question इसके ऊपर आ सकता है D type. So mostly जो नेचर में शुगर आता है और या फिर जो मेटाबोलाइजिंग करने वाला एंजाइम भी आता है उनका कॉन्फ़िगरेशन क्या हो सकता है D. Now optical activity. So as you know that sugar will have a asymmetric carbon atom, they are optically active. So because of the asymmetric carbon atom, when a beam of plane polarized light is passed through a solution of sugar, they will show the optical activity. They will either rotate the plane polarized light to the right side, then it is known as a dextrorotary, and if they rotate a plane polarized light to the left side, then it is known as levorotary. So dextro is denoted by D or plus, levo is denoted by I or minus, according to their optical isomers or enantiomer. Optical isomers are also known as enantiomer. Now, now what is meant by racemic mixture? If racemic mixture means अगर ये जो है D and L, if two isomers D and L, so if they are present in an equal amount, if D and L isomers, they are present in an equal amount in the mixture, so it is known as a racemic mixture. Now D isomer and L isomer दोनों क्या है इक्वल अमाउंट में किस में है एक मिक्सचर में है उसको क्या बोलना है racemic mixture. And racemic mixture is optically inactive. Racemic mixture is optically inactive. Why? Because it will have equal amount of D and L isomers. Equal amount of D and L isomers. Now which is optically inactive? Why? Because activity of each isomer will be cancelled by each other. So D अगर है 50% तो L भी है 50%. तो D अगर राइट साइड को रोटेट करता है प्लेन तो L क्या करेगा लेफ्ट साइड को रोटेट करेगा. So that's why, so they will nullify the rotation. So it will be optically inactive. Racemic mixture will be optically inactive. Separation of optically active isomer from the racemic mixture. Separation of single optically active isomer from the racemic mixture is known as a resolution of racemic mixture. Resolution of racemic mixture. Right? Now we'll see the next cyclic structure of your monosaccharide. So cyclic structure of monosaccharide. if a terminal alcohol group जो लास्ट वाला कार्बन नंबर 6 है उसके ऊपर जो हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप है सो ये टर्मिनल अल्कोहल ग्रुप रिएक्ट्स विद द फंक्शनल ग्रुप कौन सा होता है एल्डिहाइड और सो अल्कोहल ग्रुप ऑफ कार्बन नंबर 5 रिएक्ट्स विद द एल्डिहाइड ग्रुप और कीटोन ग्रुप जो कार्बन नंबर 5 के ऊपर OH ग्रुप है वो अगर रिएक्ट करता है कार्बन नंबर 1 में जो एल्डिहाइड कीटोन है सो इफ कार्बन नंबर 5 the alcohol group that is OH group on carbon number 5 reacts with the functional group that is aldehyde or ketone present on the carbon number 1. So there is a formation of cyclic structure. There is a formation of cyclic structure. Okay, now that cyclic structure has a two configuration. So either it is known as a alpha D glucose, beta D glucose. Okay, beta D glucose. So I will explain that using structure. Now next one is the anomers and epimers. So first I will explain that cyclic form of structure. You can see over here cyclic structure of glucose. When a hydroxyl group, यहाँ पे क्या था hydroxyl group था. When a hydroxyl group of carbon number 5 reacts with the carbon number 1, that is a functional group aldehyde or ketone. So there is a cyclization. There is a cyclization of the sugar. साइक्लिक फॉर्म बनेगा उसको बोलते हैं साइक्लिक फॉर्म. ओके, नाउ साइक्लिक फॉर्म जो बना है उसमें भी दो कॉन्फ़िगरेशन होता है. सो इन द साइक्लिक फॉर्म आल्सो देयर आर टू कॉन्फ़िगरेशन. सो व्हाट आर दिस टू आई विल एक्सप्लेन. साइक्लिक फॉर्म ऑफ डी ग्लूकोज OH group present on the carbon number 1 if that is on the same side as that of the terminal alcohol group in a cyclic form of glucose. नॉर्मल डी एंड यल क्या होता है कि यहाँ पे जो हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप है वो अगर सेम साइड पे तो उसको डी बोलेंगे. बट इन द साइक्लिक फॉर्म ऑफ ग्लूकोज, इन द साइक्लिक फॉर्म ऑफ शुगर कब होता है साइक्लिक फॉर्म? व्हेन हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप ऑफ कार्बन नंबर 5 जो होता है ना ये वाला कार्बन, ये क्या है कार्बन नंबर 5 का हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप. व्हेन दिस हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप रिएक्ट विद द एल्डिहाइड ग्रुप और कीटोन ग्रुप, सो दैट रिजल्ट इन द साइक्लिक फॉर्म. ओके, cyclic form मिलता है आपको. and in that cyclic form also there are two structure. I will explain that. So when this hydroxyl group of carbon number 5 will react with the either aldehyde or ketone, that is a functional group carbon number 1, so that result in the cyclic form of structure. So as you can see over here, so this is cyclic form. Okay, so now these cyclic forms will also have two configuration. So depending on the arrangement of this hydroxyl group on a carbon number 1, so if hydroxyl group of carbon number 1 is on a same side as that of the terminal alcohol group, it is known as a alpha. And पहले तो क्या है ये D glucose है, so alpha D glucose. So if hydroxyl group of cyclic form of glucose is on a opposite side of that of the terminal hydroxyl group, okay, so that is known as a beta. Okay, so alpha D glucose and beta D glucose, they are nothing but the cyclic form of glucose. This carbon number 1, okay, which has a functional group. So this carbon is known as an anomeric carbon. And depending upon the arrangement of hydroxyl group on this carbon, either same side or either opposite side, so they are known as anomers. Okay, so cyclic form is out. Okay? So terminal alcohol C5 alcohol group reacts with aldehyde or ketone to form a cyclic structure, that is known as the cyclic structure of your sugar. Now that cyclic structure also has a two configuration, alpha and beta. Now if OH group of C5, alpha D glucose means if OH group of that anomeric carbon is on the same side of as that of the terminal hydroxyl group known as alpha anomer, and if OH group is on the opposite side or left side to that of the terminal alcohol group known as a beta anomer. So anomers are nothing but what are the anomers? Carbon number 1 after the cyclization, यहाँ पे जो cyclic form बना है, carbon number 1 after cyclization becomes asymmetric. After cyclization it will become asymmetric, and two cyclic form of that sugar will be there, alpha and beta. They have a different optical rotation. but they will look like the same because whole compound are not a mirror image of each other. They are known as anomers, and carbon number 1 is known as anomeric carbon atom. Okay? देखो यहाँ what is anomers, इसके ऊपर GPAT में क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. So anomers, when this hydroxyl group of carbon number 5 will react with the aldehyde or ketone, it will form a cyclic structure like this. It will form a cyclic structure like this. Okay. Now this cyclic structure also have two different forms. Okay. When the hydroxyl group of carbon number 5 reacts with the aldehyde group of glucose, so aldehyde group will become asymmetric. अभी ये aldehyde group जो है इसका carbon number 1 will become asymmetric. ठीक है, क्योंकि अभी देखो यहाँ पे डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स कौन से देखो, एक तो एक हाइड्रोजन ग्रुप हो गया, एक तो हो गया हाइड्रोजन ग्रुप, तीसरा हो गया ये ऑक्सीजन वाला, चौथा कौन सा है ये पूरा. सो इट विल बिकम एसिमेट्रिक. नाउ अरेंजमेंट ऑफ हाइड्रोजन एंड हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप ऑन अ anomeric carbon. तो ये this carbon is known as an anomeric carbon. So if hydroxyl group on an anomeric carbon is on the same side as that of the terminal alcohol group, it is known as alpha anomer. Alpha anomer. If hydroxyl group, okay, if hydroxyl group is on a opposite side as that of the terminal alcohol group, known as a beta anomer. Okay, so cyclic form of glucose will have different configuration at an anomeric carbon atom, different configuration of hydroxyl and hydrogen ion. So due to difference in the arrangement of hydroxyl and hydrogen ion on an anomeric carbon atoms, so there are different isomerism known as anomers. So anomerism occur due to the, इसके ऊपर GPAT 2020 में क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. What is anomers? Isomerism that occurs due to the position 1 of carbonyl. Position 1 of carbonyl, it is known as the anomeric carbon atom, and depending on that alpha and beta forms of glucose, cyclic glucose is possible. जैसे यहाँ पे दिखाया है मैंने. तो देखो एनोमर्स कब होते हैं, एनोमर्स जब साइक्लाइजेशन होता है. सो व्हेन देयर विल बी साइक्लाइजेशन कब होता है, व्हेन दिस हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप ऑफ कार्बन नंबर 5 will react with the aldehyde group, so it will become a cyclized compound, will become cyclized. तो जैसे ये गैलेक्टोज है लेकिन ग्लूकोज कंसीडर करो इसको, तो ये साइक्लाइजेशन होगा. And after the cyclization, isomerism occurs due to the difference in the configuration of hydrogen and hydroxyl group on a carbon number 1. क्यों होता है? Carbon number 1 is known as a anomeric carbon. कब होता है anomeric? It is a symmetric carbon atom normally, but when there is a cyclization takes place, it will become asymmetric. And now it is asymmetric and differs in the arrangement of hydroxyl and hydrogen. Okay. Now if hydroxyl group at an anomeric carbon atom, ये इसको बोलेंगे anomeric carbon. So if hydroxyl group on an anomeric carbon atom is on the same side or on a right side as that of the alcohol present in the terminal carbon, so it is known as a alpha anomer. And now if hydroxyl group is present on a opposite side to that of the terminal alcohol group, is known as a beta anomer. Okay, so as anomerism is anomers, what are they? Isomerism that occurs due to the position of one carbonyl, also known as a carbonyl, also known as a anomeric carbon, and depending on that alpha and beta forms are there, so they are known as a anomers. Is that clear? Anomers clear हो गया आपको? हे बघा ग्लुकोज आहे ना, ग्लुकोजचं स्ट्रक्चर कुठलं आहे? हे ग्लुकोजचं स्ट्रक्चर आहे. कुठलं? ये ग्लुकोजचं स्ट्रक्चर आहे, ग्लुकोजचं स्ट्रक्चर. When a hydroxyl group on 5 carbon atom will react with the aldehyde group of first carbon atom, इसको रिएक्ट होगा तो क्या होगा? कुछ ऐसा स्ट्रक्चर बनेगा. ठीक है, कुछ ऐसा. स्ट्रक्चर will look like this. Now ये साइक्लिक स्ट्रक्चर हो गया. Now in the cyclic structure, arrangement of this due to cyclization is the process of converting a linear structure into cyclic structure. अभी ये पहले क्या था? linear structure था. This one is a linear structure. Okay? This one is a linear structure. जैसे ये ग्लूकोज का है. This glucose is a linear. So this glucose is linear. When this hydroxyl group react with the aldehyde group, so it will become a cyclic. जैसे ये cycle बन गया. Cyclization of linear structure of glucose due to reaction of hydroxyl group present on the C5 with the functional group aldehyde. So cyclization takes place. Now after cyclization, this carbon number, पहले देखो ये कार्बन क्या है? CHO, ये पहला कार्बन जो है ये नो एसिमेट्रिक है. So in the normal linear structure of glucose, okay, the first carbon atom which is a symmetric, ये सिमेट्रिक होता है, इसको 4 डिफरेंट ग्रुप नहीं है, ठीक है. तो ये सिमेट्रिक है, तो इसमें आइसोमेरिज्म नहीं हो सकता. बट आफ्टर साइक्लेशन when this hydroxyl group reacts with this group, so there is a formation of asymmetric carbon. तो ये कार्बन एटम 1 जो है वो बनेगा asymmetric. Carbon 1 will become asymmetric, and that is known as a anomeric carbon atom. It is known as a anomeric carbon atom, and difference in the arrangement of this hydroxyl and hydrogen that leads to again isomerism known as a anomerism or anomers. So if hydroxyl group is present on the same side as that of the terminal hydroxyl group, so it is known as a alpha anomer, alpha D glucose, ठीक है. D है, dextro ये है. If it is on the opposite side, so it is known as a beta D glucose, ठीक है. So isomerism that occurs due to the cyclation of due to the reaction of C5OH to the aldehyde group. So cyclation takes place and carbon number 1 will become asymmetric. Normally it is symmetric, but after cyclation it will become asymmetric, and now that carbon is known as an anomeric carbon atom. And difference in the arrangement of hydroxyl group and hydrogen at an anomeric carbon atom, due to that there are two isomers, alpha and beta, so known as anomers. Okay, that is anomerism. Now next term is epimers. Epimers means if two sugars differs in the configuration at a single carbon atom other than anomeric carbon atom. अभी देखो epimers anomers में फर्क क्या है. epimers के बारे में क्वेश्चन पूछा है, anomers के बारे में क्वेश्चन पूछा है. So what do you mean by epimers? So when two sugar differs in the configuration at a single carbon atom other than anomeric carbon atom. anomeric कौन सा होता है पहला, तो इसके बजाय दूसरे यहाँ पे अगर अरेंजमेंट डिफरेंस है तो उसको बोलेंगे epimers. फॉर एग्जांपल, okay, for example glucose and galactose they are a C4 epimers, and glucose and mannose they are known as a C2 epimers. इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. Glucose and galactose they are known as C4 epimers, glucose and mannose they are known as C2 epimers. ठीक है, देखो कैसे है यहाँ पे. So this one is a structure of glucose, ये glucose का structure है, D glucose. Okay, D glucose. Now this is a structure of your mannose, and this is structure of your galactose. ये galactose है, glucose and galactose. So glucose and galactose they are known as C4 epimers. Why? Because you see बाकी सभी स्ट्रक्चर से है. देखो यहाँ तक स्ट्रक्चर जो है ग्लूकोज का गैलेक्टोज का, इसमें जो स्ट्रक्चर है वो सेम ही है. ठीक है भाई, ग्लूकोज एंड गैलेक्टोज का ये इसमें जो स्ट्रक्चर है ये कार्बन नंबर 5 6 के ऊपर सेम ही है. देयर इज अ डिफरेंस इन द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ ग्लूकोज एंड गैलेक्टोज एट ओनली कार्बन नंबर 4. ग्लूकोज और गैलेक्टोज के स्ट्रक्चर में डिफरेंस क्या है? सिर्फ कार्बन नंबर 4 के ऊपर क्या है डिफरेंस इन द अरेंजमेंट. इसका अरेंजमेंट okay, you can see difference in the arrangement of this. So in the galactose arrangement is different. ठीक है, कार्बन नंबर 4 यहाँ पे देखो कार्बन नंबर 4. So in the carbon number 4, so there is a difference in the arrangement of hydroxyl group and hydrogen group or in the glucose and galactose. So that's why it is known as a C4 epimers. That's why they are known as a C4 epimers. So difference in the arrangement of hydroxyl and hydrogen group other than the एनोमेरिक कार्बन एटम. एनोमेरिक कार्बन एटम कौन सा है? ये, इसको छोड़ो, इसके ऊपर कोई अरेंजमेंट नहीं. इफ टू शुगर्स डिफर्स इन द कॉन्फ़िगरेशन एट अ सिंगल कार्बन एटम अदर देन द एनोमेरिक कार्बन एटम दे आर नोन एज epimers. ग्लूकोज एंड गैलेक्टोज आर C4 epimers एंड ग्लूकोज एंड मैनोज आर द C2 epimers. ठीक है, अभी देखो ग्लूकोज एंड मैनोज. आई विल कॉल यू लेटर, आई एम इन लेक्चर. ओके, आई विल कॉल यू लेटर, आई एम इन लेक्चर. लेक्चर में हूँ मैं, कॉल कर दो आपको. सो आई विल एक्सप्लेन मैनोज एंड ग्लूकोज हाउ दे आर epimers टू ईच अदर. नाउ यू कैन सी द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ मैनोज. मैनोज का स्ट्रक्चर है आपका ये, दिस इज द डी मैनोज, दिस इज डी ग्लूकोज. आप ये स्ट्रक्चर देखो, ये पूरा स्ट्रक्चर, सो इट इज सेम. सो देयर इज नो डिफरेंस इन दिस मैनोज एंड ग्लूकोज इन ऑल द रेस्ट ऑफ द कार्बन. ओनली डिफरेंस इज देयर इन कार्बन नंबर 2. कार्बन नंबर 2 के ऊपर क्या है डिफरेंस है, किसमें? अरेंजमेंट ऑफ हाइड्रोजन एंड हाइड्रोक्सिल ग्रुप. So in the mannose this hydroxyl group is on a left side, glucose, this hydroxyl group is on the right side. As there is a difference in the arrangement of hydrogen and hydroxyl group on carbon number 2, that's why glucose and mannose, they are known as a C2 group. So what are the epimers? So if two sugars differs in the configuration, or if two sugars differs in the arrangement of hydrogen and hydroxyl group at a single carbon atom other than anomeric carbon atom, they are known as the epimers of each other. So glucose and galactose, they are a C4 epimer, because यहाँ पे कार्बन नंबर 4 के ऊपर क्या है, डिफरेंस इन द अरेंजमेंट है. मैनोज, glucose and mannose, they are known as a C2 epimers. Glucose and mannose, they are known as C2 epimers. Is that clear?